2. Here we go. Earnestly podcast here. Danny Thompson, NBA sports journalist, you name it. He covers everything. Man of all trades. How many shows do you have now? Like I'm starting to have a hard time following you because you have the Haps thing now going. You're covering the Hornets up in Charlotte now. You got a good thing going there. You got a lot of stuff going.
I mean, you said show-wise. I mean, we have the Hornets post-game show, which is right after every single Hornets post-game after press conferences. I have Beyond the Buzzer on Thursday nights. Myself and Kyle Nash, of course, a friend of the show, always on there. And then after the All-Star break, I'm debuting the weekly NBA beat, and that's going to start on Monday. So that's going to be on Haps as well too, as well as YouTube and Facebook, where I talk all things NBA as well as you never know who might stop by. So
I'm gonna need a menu or content to follow all the things you're doing. So I'm following the stuff you're doing, but like you have your toes in so many different things and hands. Things. It's good.
I think the NBA show is gonna be fun because one of these nights you're gonna have to jump on and we're gonna talk all things hoops.
You know me, I'm down for that. I'm a hoops guy, obviously.
You know it.
It is All-Star break. Right now we're recording, and this is the last night before the All-Star break. Now I had a guest on about a month ago when they announced that they were going to do the All-Star break, and I obviously back then had reservations about the situation due to COVID and all that. Mm-hmm. I've probably softened a little bit in recent weeks, only because you can tell now the environment now in the country is that things are starting to open up. There's a light at the end of the tunnel. We don't have to get political and all that either, but this seems to be like with the vaccines now coming in, older folks getting vaccinated, and eventually, people our age are going to get vaccinated. I've softened my stance on it. What's your take on the All-Star game? Should we still be having it? Where were you at right now currently with that?
I'll say this. Even if they hand me a credential for Sunday, I'm not touching anywhere near Atlanta. I'm not touching Atlanta. Like, there's certain. Terry Rozier made a great comment in one of our pregame pressers, actually one of the shoot-arounds early in the season. There are more important things out there important than the NBA All-Star game right now. Like, we're not in a place where you can walk outside and you can literally not have to wear a mask. We're still people don't have vaccines. Now, whether you said, Marjorie, whether your stance or take is on vaccines, whether you want to get it or not, the people who want it still can't get it yet. And there are better things to do with the week off in the NBA than have an All-Star game in Atlanta. We don't have fans. There's 3,000 fans on Sunday night?
Right.
No. I would rather just take the time off, enjoy it, rest, recharge, because the second half of the season is going to be, I know for the Hornets, it's 37 games in 66 days.
Yeah, my argument was more so this too. Like, if we're now, granted, this is also the time when I said this at a time where there were a lot of COVID cases being coming in. It was actually a little bit of a threat where they may have had to shut down the season for a couple of weeks, whatever it may be. So my argument was this. It was more the fact of, well, why are we playing games that don't matter? If the priority is to get through the season, should we be putting that energy towards games that actually matter? Regular season, playoffs, all that. That was really my strength. My argument was that.
No, I completely agree. We just had the entire Raptors coaching staff miss games last week because of COVID. We had almost a situation where the Raptors were like, Kyle Lowry be the head coach because there was no coach available. Like, you mentioned it. We're trying to get through this entire season of pandemic, and I'll be honest with you. If you talk to the players, like, it's a different environment. They're literally like in a bubble in some kind of way, and they need time to be with their families. Guys want to get away for a couple of days and spend time with their wives, spend time with their children, disconnect a little bit because it's a very hectic season. So, to your point, I mean, as much as I love the All-Star game, I think we both love it. I'm sure we could have went without the All-Star game, a microwave dunk contest, a three-point contest, which is actually pretty decent, and a skills competition in a 6-hour period. I could watch AEW. I'd rather watch AEW Revolution than watch the All-Star game.
I'll be doing that actually on Sunday.
I'll be doing both. I'll have AEW on one television and the All-Star game on the other one.
You're so fancy.
No, it's called connecting. So it's not fancy. It's called Fire Sticks. That's what it is.
That's true. So the Utah Jazz right now, best record in the league right now. Every hit the halfway point in the year, 27-9. Granted, lost last 2 games. Where are you with the Jazz? Do you believe this team? Do you think this team can win to go to the finals? Forget championship. Can they just get to the finals?
I think they're the only team at this current moment that can beat a healthy Lakers team in the series. In the Western Conference, the only team that can do it. I trust Utah more than I trust the Clippers right now. I trust them more than I trust Denver.
Really?
Yeah.
Understandable.
And the thing with Utah is that people say, last night's game, for example, the last game against Philadelphia, right. Donovan Mitchell basically is probably going to get fined for what he said for getting respect. The Jazz do a lot of things very well, EJ. I remember I've seen the Jazz twice in about the last month because they played the Hornets.
Right.
The Jazz lead the NBA in three-point attempts, but they hit, I think, in the top 5 in percentage. Mm-hmm. They have guys who can score everywhere. It's not just Donovan Mitchell that's getting buckets and getting baskets. Bogdanović is a monster behind the three-point line. Mike Conley's hitting shots left and right. Joe Ingles, who is the YMCA Player of the Year, the YMCA guy is going to hit shots everywhere. You have Royce O'Neal.
That boy can ball.
Listen, Joe Ingles is the guy you see at the YMCA. We all play ball at the Y. You look at him like, I pick him and, it's Joe Ingles. But when he gets in the court, he's dropping 20 out of 21 points on you. Not to mention the guy I think is the 6th man of the year in Jordan Clarkson, Royce O'Neal. They have so many guys who can score, but then you got Rudy Gobert down in the post that's basically redirecting everything that's not Joel Embiid. So I think in a series like that, I don't know if the Lakers have enough firepower on the perimeter because as we watched over the last couple of weeks, they struggle against teams shooting from the perimeter right now. Then the Jazz can hit enough shots. Can they win a 7-game series? Not sure yet, but they can get the Lakers run for their money. I think the only team that can do it.
They do feel kind of 2004 Pistons-ish. Now, granted, they do have a star in Mitchell, Donovan Mitchell.
But I see similarities. I see the similarities because it's a team. Donovan Mitchell, even though I think he's a superstar player, doesn't get the respect a lot of superstar players get in the league. I think Trae Young gets more respect than Donovan Mitchell does around this league, to be honest with you.
That is interesting.
Like, Donovan Mitchell doesn't get superstar calls. He doesn't. But Trae Young gets to the line almost 10 times a night. You watch the other night against the Heat. He gets to the line all the time.
Yeah.
It's quite annoying. I'm pretty sure it is.
This is my thing with Utah. The environment right now, this can change in the next 2 months, obviously the playoffs start. But the environment, like, people are going to doubt this team because it's Utah. Come playoff time, LeBron rises up and the Clippers are a better team and all that. Yeah. But the environment right now, if this environment we have right now in the league continues through April into May, and we'll touch the Lakers in a second, Anthony Davis and their situation. Mm-hmm. The environment is ripe for Utah to make a deep run and get to the finals because every team has significant issues. The Clippers issue really were so internal. Like, they beat themselves. They have the talent to do it, but they beat themselves.
Mm-hmm. I think that when you look at the Jazz, if they end up with the top overall seed, as long as the Lakers are not at 4, they're automatically in the Western Conference Finals. Because if you match them up with Denver, which I think they should have beat last year if they had a healthy Bogdanović, and Jamal Murray didn't play out of his mind in that series, they would have beaten them. And it came down to actually the last possession of Game 7. They can beat the Clippers. I think they can beat, who's 5? Was it Phoenix?
I think
Phoenix. Do you trust Phoenix?
2, actually, last night?
I'm just saying, yeah, Phoenix who's right in that same spot. I mean, the Jazz, I don't think it's the Jazz. I don't think Phoenix will finish at second.
No, of course not. Well, right now, 5's Portland. Currently.
I think they can beat Portland, too.
Yeah.
The thing is, the longer you avoid the Lakers in the playoffs, the better.
Yeah.
Now, the only drawback is, the longer you wait on the Lakers, the more healthier Anthony Davis gets as well, too.
That is true. Which is actually a great segue because I think the plan here for the Lakers should be to rest Davis as long as possible. Because Anthony Davis is not your typical player. Oh, he gets hurt, he'll come back, whatever. Yeah, he might come back, but Anthony Davis always gets hurt. This is pretty much a routine since he came in the NBA like 7-8 years ago. So if I'm the Lakers, screw seeding. I don't care if he's a 6th seed. Limit LeBron's minutes, even though he's going to tell you no. Keep AD out to probably the final week of the season. and then just roll the dice from there. That should be the plan always.
I think this injury for Anthony Davis is more scary than the rest of them because it was considered an Achilles injury that turned into a calf injury.
Right.
Last time we saw that was a superstar play was Kevin Durant, and we saw what happened when they let him try to run loose and try to rush him back. To your point, I think with the season ending in May, I think you get Anthony Davis revved up after tax time. So after your taxes are due in April, start bringing him back in, but just in slow intervals. And just ease his way back in the line. He doesn't need to play more than 10 to 15 minutes tonight to test to see how this is to get ready.
Let's get his feet wet.
And you don't need him from round one. The Lakers, they play the first round. LeBron and a semi-quasi healthy Anthony Davis should squash anybody they play in the first round. You might need him for a few more minutes in the second round if it's the Clippers.
Well, I see what you're saying there, but that's also, to me, that's also assuming the Lakers get one of the top 4 seeds in the conference. If they even get that.
I think the Lakers will get a top 4 seed, even without Anthony. If Davis doesn't play another minute in regular season, as long as like you said, LeBron James is not going to take minute restrictions or load restrictions. All right. He sat out tonight only because of the fact of they basically kind of forced him to sit down tonight. That was pretty much it. And besides, it's the game before the All-Star break. LeBron could take the night off. I think when it comes down to it, people make fun of the 2 years ago we put playoff activated mode, and I guess it disintegrated and blew up in his face. Right. As the Lakers completely torpedoed down the standings. The Lakers are built to win. Montrezl Harrell and Dennis Schroeder are 2 humongous key pieces in the formula going forward. Kyle Kuzma can score buckets. I think they can win a first round series without Anthony Davis. But if you're looking at potentially the Clippers or the Nuggets in the second round, you're going to need Anthony Davis in that series, regardless. You're going to need him. Right. You can't beat the Clippers or Denver without Anthony Davis.
No, I think the limit for the Lakers release of 3 or 4 teams without AD. Like, you can beat every team but the Clippers, but the Jazz at this point. And like you said, Denver is the other team. Now, Denver slipped from last year a little bit, but maybe it's a good thing, I guess. I guess maybe them and the Clippers being a bit underwhelming is a good thing in long term. Less eyeballs.
I think Denver's problem is Denver's just scared to give Michael Porter Jr. the ball and move out the way. That's what it is. Michael Porter Jr. is a guy that can change the entire fortunes of the Denver Nuggets. It's not Will Barton. It's not Gary Harris. It's not Paul Millsap. It's Michael Porter Jr. He's 6'10". He can hit threes. He can rebound, and he can score from all 3 levels, which is the interior, the mid-range, and he can shoot from the three-point line. If you give him and let Jamal Murray be Jamal Murray, and Jamal Murray's not a typical point guard. He's a scoring guard. But you let Michael Porter just unleash. At 6'10", very few teams have that type of guy who can guard him in the playoffs. I like Mikal Bridges, but he's not guarding Michael Porter Jr. in the playoff series, and neither is Cam Johnson. You look at Utah, for example. I love Bojan Bogdanovic, but he can't defend. He's not going to defend him if he's shooting shots.
That's a good point, yeah.
The Lakers, if needed, LeBron can go on him, but you don't need him because you have KCP and you have other guys who can play on-ball defense. Denver has to let him get loose. I think they rely too much on Jokic and they rely too much on Jamal Murray to rely on the offense. They need a third player and allow that third player to be a third player. So, because Gary Harris ain't hitting no shot no time soon.
Right. Let's go on East real quick. So the one of the things about the season I don't like that's not fun anymore is that I can't make fun of the Knicks. I can't. I can't. Like, they're competitive. Like, they're beyond competitive now. We're now in early March, and I mean, let me see where they're at now. The last I checked, they're over 500. Now they are over 500 still. 1918. I mean, this is insane. With a roster of guys that are pretty much assets for other teams in the future. There is no clear, other than Julius Randle, there's no clear cut. Everybody is for sale, pretty much.
I call the Knicks the Island of Misfit Toys. This reminds me of watching Rudolph for the Island of Misfit Toys because, like you said, these guys were cast-offs on pretty much every single roster. I mean, Derrick Rose was in Detroit, basically dying a slow death because that's what happens when you go to Detroit. Elfrid Payton's played for a good third of the teams. He's only been in the league 8 years anyway. You have Reggie Bullock.
Noel.
You have Nerlens Noel, Alec Burks.
Yeah.
And then you have the kids they drafted: R.J. Barrett, Mitchell Robinson, who's out. Emmanuel Quigley, IQ, I think is going to be really good if Tom Thibodeau would just let him play. You got Obi Toppin, who just can't find minutes because the best player on the roster is Julius Randle, who's now an all-star, and the Knicks are still questioning whether to give him a long-term deal in the offseason.
Yeah, because it's kind of a one-hit. I mean, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but it does have one-hit wonder vibes.
And it's a Tom Thibodeau team, and every year Tibbs takes over a team. It's like the Chris Paul effect. They're good the first year. The real question is, how good will they be next year?
Yeah. The move here is to build those assets and use a straight bait and send some away. That's the move.
I mean, the word I've heard around the league is that, listen, the Knicks are targeting John Collins in the offseason.
Yeah.
And he's not playing center. I mean, he's not going to be playing next to Julius Randle, because if that's the case, then you have no interior defense.
Right.
And they're willing to talk about paying. Collins is going to he wants max money. The Knicks have $28 million in cap space. That could be the plan the Knicks go, because 5 months ago, this free agent class is loaded, and now everybody's going to re-sign contracts with the exception of Kawhi Leonard. And so now the pool's gone down a bit.
So we're talking about coach of the year. I mean, Tom Thibodeau's got to be in the conversation.
I think Tibbs is definitely in the conversation, but I think my guy right now is Quinn Snyder in Utah.
Yeah.
I mean, the Jazz are running away with it. But if Quinn Snyder doesn't exist and he's in an alternative universe, Doc Rivers is right there in Philadelphia, because they were basically right there in first place all year. Right. With all the changes they made. You mentioned Tibbs in New York, because that's been a phenomenal job he's done in New York by taking that situation and turning it around. Monty Williams in Phoenix. I know the Chris Paul effect, but listen, no one would have thought the Suns were a top 4 team. The second best record in the West.
Yeah, playoff team and not top 4. No.
Yeah, no, they didn't think it was going to be a top. I mean, I think there's the second in the Western Conference as we're recording the show now. And for me, I think the dark horse in all this is James Borrego in Charlotte.
Yeah, you cover them, and I'm stunned. And LaMelo Ball Michael Jordan said today that he's more than surpassed the expectations already. I mean, I know it's half a year so far, but he's already surpassed Lonzo, right? At this point, right?
But they're two different players, though. I mean,
no, right, but I mean, impact. I'm saying, obviously.
I think impact. I think impact-wise, yes, but you also got to realize Lonzo Ball was never the scorer LaMelo was.
Of course.
So, and at this point, Lonzo's a way better defender than LaMelo was at that point in his career. The one thing LaMelo Ball struggled is gotten better at that. He's gotten better. I wrote about this on Sports Illustrated before the season started about LaMelo Ball. The one thing that will irritate Hornets fans was two things: his shot selection, because in Australia his shot selection was atrocious.
Right.
Because he was basically given a green light to do whatever he wanted to. He shot 30 times a game in Australia most nights.
Right.
Because even with professional players, he was given the green light. I worry about his shot selection. Well, since he's been in Charlotte, it hasn't been a problem. He's hitting. I think he's close to 40% behind the 3-point line this year. He's actually taking quality shots, EJ, and it's not even quality shots. He's passing up wide open 3-pointers at times because defenders are chasing after him and getting to the rim and drawing fouls. That's a sign of growth. I mean, the assist numbers are there, and of course he's going to have turnovers. The other part I questioned was his defense. He still struggles in the pick and roll.
Right.
Go back to the Golden State game, EJ, about a week ago in Oakland. They kept switching on the pick and roll, and he was left on Kelly Oubre. Oubre had 5 dunks in the first quarter. He was playing NBA Jam on the Hornets in the first quarter. So there's times where LaMelo has his defensive lapses. Even in the last game against Minnesota, it wasn't said, but if you watch that first half on defense being guarded by Ricky Rubio, Rubio was hitting shots left and right on being guarded by LaMelo Ball. But besides all that, LaMelo Ball's been phenomenal. They've done a great job with him, easing him into the NBA. Fans are upset that he didn't start from day one, but it makes the most sense.
Yeah.
He had to get adjusted to the NBA. And he had to learn how to play defense and understand that it's a totally different culture over here than it was in Australia, in high school, in the JBL, in Lithuania, all those other places he played. And he's not playing in a situation where he has been given everything. He had to earn it. And now the sky's the limit for him. The sky's the limit.
So he's easily Rookie of the Year. Easily.
I barring injury, the only player that's going to come close to him will be Halliburton in Sacramento. He's the only one that's coming close.
Right.
Because Wiseman's not going to play enough minutes to do it.
Speaking of awards, who's MVP so far?
right now the MVP of the league right now. The Jazz have the best record, but Joel Embiid's been the best player in the league this year. Last night's dominant. It was a 40-19 that he put up on Gobert last night. He's cut down the three-pointers. He still shoots them, but he doesn't shoot as much of them. He's damaging people in the post like we've all wanted him to. He's playing with a focus. His defensive intensity is there, and the Sixers are winning. So he's my MVP right now.
It's funny because we've heard so many names in the last 2 months alone. LeBron. Then you have Durant for a while when he was healthy. Then he gets hurt, of course. Embiid, of course. All of a sudden, I'm hearing James Harden.
Mm-hmm.
All of a sudden, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but he seems revigorated in Brooklyn. I'll tell you that.
Nikola Jokic in Denver. You've heard, there are a lot of names out there, but Steph Curry at one point was talked about being MVP because the Warriors was in that 4 or 5 range. No Klay Thompson. When your second best player is Andrew Wiggins or Kelly Oubre, you get some kind of credit for that.
But the thing is though, this is why I agree with you on Embiid. All those players you mentioned, the difference is that Embiid and his team is winning in the standings. To me, the equalizer has always been the winning. If your team is 1, 2, 3 seed or overachieved, that seems to help the MVP case. Harden in Brooklyn doing great is not a surprise. He has Durant, he has Kyrie. LeBron is LeBron, he's the Lakers, all that, they're champs. Embiid is, Philly's a playoff team, we knew that, but Philly is overachieving what we all thought they'd be before they started. And Embiid is doing equal with Embiid's production, so it makes sense. I agree with you.
I think the one thing that I question about Philadelphia wasn't the regular season is that when we get to May and June where it counts for real, will the Sixers get themselves at the pet peeve, which is the second round? They've never been to the conference finals with Simmons or Embiid together. And that's why I wonder, can Doc do it? Because, Doc doesn't know what the conference finals is like either because he had been there since, the Celtics? And that was over a decade ago.
Right. Yeah. So I'm with you though. Embiid, I totally agree with you. All right, so give me right now your biggest surprise of the season so far.
You mentioned them earlier. The New York Knicks are surprising. I thought they were going to be a dumpster fire all season. I really thought that Tom Thibodeau wasn't going to do much.
There's still time. No,
but you said at this very moment, recording, the Knicks being in the top 5 in the Eastern Conference with above 500 record, to me, is more surprising than the Jazz right now. Listen, if Quinn Snyder wasn't the guy where he's at right now, Tom Thibodeau's coach of the year. Because if you look at that roster, EJ, like you said, it's a whole bunch of spare parts that nobody wanted. It's Julius Randle and a bunch of nobodies for the most part. They drafted Obi Toppin, and we didn't know what was going to happen to Obi Toppin, but Randle's playing an all-star. Derrick Rose has been the perfect 6th man and teacher for Emmanuel Quigley. They're getting production out of Nerlens Noel. RJ Barrett's been up and down, but everybody else has played well. And you got to give Thibodeau a lot of credit. So I think the Knicks, even with the dysfunction going on in the Garden, are the most surprising team in the NBA right now.
Well, that's the easy answer, of course, in New York. Mine is Charlotte. Again, mine's just Charlotte. I do my over-unders every year, and to me, the 2 teams we're mentioning here are the 2 teams that I thought would be the 2 worst teams in the league, Charlotte and New York. And
I thought Cleveland's worse than Charlotte. Give Charlotte something.
Right. And yeah, both teams not only have overperformed, they're right now the playoffs start today, they're playoff teams.
Cleveland too? Wow.
Cleveland too?
I thought they were. No, Cleveland wasn't. I know Knicks and Hornets are, but yes.
Cleveland is now the 13th seed in the East.
Yeah, but Cleveland, they had a horrible stretch of games when JaVale McGee was playing.
They were competitive for a while. Yeah. What about your biggest disappointment?
The Dallas Mavericks. I thought they'd be a lot better than what they were right now. I really thought that Luka and KP would, after having such a great bubble, and to be honest with you, if KP doesn't go down in that series, I think the Mavericks would have beat the Clippers in the playoffs last year, the way Luka was playing. The way Luka and KP were playing in those first 2 games of that series, they had a chance to, I think they lost game 1, they had a chance to win that series, and because Luka went nuts, and there's nothing that the Clippers could do. Pat Beverly couldn't stop it. Paul George couldn't stop it. They even threw Kawhi out there, and he was still getting step-back 3-pointers. And KP was out there, I think he was scoring, 30 a game in the bubble? So, yeah, I thought they would give him every stretch of the imagination. And I thought that I didn't realize the trading of Seth Curry, not Steph, but Seth Curry would have hurt them. I thought Richardson was going to help him more than what he's done. Seth Curry has done more for the Sixers than what Josh Richardson has done for the Mavs.
Oh, without question. Without question. Philly won that trade. Without question.
And when that trade first happened, I thought Dallas was going to win all the way because you got a defender to go next to Luka, who's not the best defensive player on the floor. But Curry's been such an accurate shooter from behind there, and him and Danny Green have filled every need the Sixers didn't have last year, which was shooting.
Right, I agree with you. My disappointment is the entire Eastern Conference, honestly. I thought it'd be more teams that pulled away outside Brooklyn and Philly. Now, granted, a lot of it's circumstantial. Like Miami had their issues with COVID and all that, so that's why they were there. But I thought, look at Boston. I thought they'd be one of those teams in top four that we pulled away. Now they're right now, 9th seed in the East?
Well, you got to think Marcus Smart's out. Kemba Walker's not healthy either.
Right.
And Boston's been exposed on the inside all year. And they've been, as much as I love Peyton Pritchard's play, Peyton Pritchard's not Marcus Smart. He's not Kemba Walker either. So.
Well, they won 4 in a row. They said they're the 4th seed now. They started to play a little better now.
I mean, I think Boston and Miami were disappointing in the first part of the season, but like I said, Miami's circumstances with COVID, all the guys being out, and Miami hasn't been a healthy team all year.
Right. I just thought, but I didn't think you have this big jumble up between 3 and 9 like this. I thought we at least have 4 or 5 teams that pull away, and then you have the second tier after that. So I'm disappointed in that.
I think Atlanta's been disappointing as well too.
Without question. Did they make the right call on firing the coach?
No.
Too soon, right?
I think they should have gave him to the end of the year. Give them a chance to have everybody healthy.
Right.
Atlanta was beaten up with injuries. Chris Dunn hasn't played 1 minute. They signed in the offseason.
Right.
Rondo has been injured. His brain is still in LA from last season. Gallinari finally got healthy. But the other Bogdanovic, the one they got from Sacramento, he got hurt 8 games in the season and just got back in the lineup last night. He missed the majority of the season. I mean, they lost Ngannou, the rookie from USC. He missed half the season. So there's a lot of guys, and then Cam Reddish has missed games, and DeAndre Hunter, who I thought was a most improved player of the year candidate, he's been out for the last 17 games and is hopefully back by the end of the month. So they're not healthy. And so I think Lloyd got the pull too soon.
Yeah, it felt I won't say dirty, but it felt dirty. It felt bad.
I mean, I know the GM didn't want to do it. I think I was ownership calling that one.
Yes, it sounds like that. So right now, if you had to pick a finals right now through the All-Star break, how do you feel? What teams right now you have in the finals?
Brooklyn, Lakers and Nets. I mean, as much as I want to see Utah in the finals because of a small market feel, you still have, if Anthony Davis is going to be back healthy, it's hard to pick against LeBron James and Anthony Davis. They're the best duo in the league. And Brooklyn's going to outscore everybody in the Eastern Conference. Okay, Philadelphia plays the best defense in the Eastern Conference, but unless Philadelphia trades for Victor Oladipo at this point in the year, the question becomes a 7-game series. Joel Embiid's going to get his points because Brooklyn's going to give up interior defense everywhere unless they get Andre Drummond, who might get bought out.
Right.
The question is, it's not about stopping Philadelphia. Brooklyn's going to have to deal with Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, and James Harden, and Ben Simmons can only guard one player at a time.
Right.
Pick your poison.
So basically your pick is that you're assuming AD will be healthy. You're assuming that he'll be healthy.
I think the Lakers and LeBron, Lakers and the training staff and head coach Frank Vogel and assistant coach LeBron James will make sure Anthony Davis is ready to go health-wise for the playoffs. I think that they're going to, like you said, they're going to take the cautious approach of him. They're saying he's out for the whole month of March. Like I said, I will expect him back until right after tax time. I don't expect him back anytime soon.
Yeah,
I'm
with you. Quick wrestling take, real quick. 2 takes.
Okay.
Bobby Lashley, the champ now. I love it.
I love it. I just hope that they don't pull it off him at WrestleMania. Let him I don't want him to be a transitional champion. Let him get some time. Let him carry the belt at least to SummerSlam.
And that's my thing too. Because I was happy he won the belt, but then I'm thinking it's on Raw. You still got Fastlane. You still got WrestleMania. Please don't be transitional. Make this make sense, because. Yes, I agree. Lashley, not a great promo. He's average in the ring. but the packaging of him and MVP and the entire Hurt business is perfection. Don't fuck it up.
You can't. I'm sorry, like you can't. You can. It's Vince McMahon, but in this situation, you can't. I think what's going to happen is, for me, they're going to pull the Lesnar card at WrestleMania.
You sure about that? There's a rumor that I just saw a report today that you can't find any Lesnar merchandise at the WWE shop, which is now putting speculation down the fact that if he'd be on the AEW, because it's supposed to be a Hall of Fame star coming to the company on Sunday at Revolution.
Yeah, but you got to think AEW is not cutting WWE checks for what Lesnar does. I don't think you cross Vince that much on this one. What I do see is, yes, you pull the merchandise only because you're going to bring it back the week of WrestleMania. I really think that the best way to do it, because if you put Drew McIntyre in that ring with him again and put the belt back on Drew, you basically Kofi'd Bobby Lashley and basically didn't give him anything. You said it best. Let MVP. Can you imagine the promos between Paul Heyman and MVP from Fastlane to WrestleMania? Them two going back and forth.
Assume that Paul Heyman's still a Lesnar guy because right now he's a Roman Reigns guy. Roman guy.
Listen. How great would that be for him to have both?
Well, if I'm Vince and I'm the creative staff, I keep Roman and Lesnar separate. Keep Roman with Heyman, Lesnar by himself for the time being, and then that will be your feud later in the year. Who to choose, Brock or Roman?
And see, I think you let Brock still be managed by Paul I was like Paulie dangerously by Paul Heyman at this point. And you set up Reigns and Lesnar for basically the loyalty of Paul Heyman at SummerSlam. I think you put Lesnar at WrestleMania. That way, you don't take you make let Lashley look strong, and also also put the belt on him to make sure it makes sense. I got a question for you, EJ, before we bounce out. Then
go ahead.
Who headlines Saturday WrestleMania and who headlines Sunday night WrestleMania?
I think Bobby.
I have my thoughts, but I want to hear yours. I'm gonna hear yours first, though.
I think Bobby Lashley does Saturday. I think Sunday be Roman.
I have Sasha and Bianca closing the show Saturday.
I should have thought of that, actually. They're going to close one of those two shows. I should have thought about that. I told that doesn't mind. Because I've been saying that they'll headline one of the 2 nights.
I think they'll headline Saturday with Reigns and Edge headlining Sunday. I think because Peacock is not going to let Roman Reigns not headline one of those 2 nights. I think Peacock puts their hands on all this.
You can argue that the biggest match right now is the Sasha Bianca match. You can argue that.
I mean, I think that's the match that makes the most sense. If you want to talk about historical moments and doing it the right way, they did it before. Remember, they had 2 women headline WrestleMania in New York, and they tore the house down with Rousey, Lynch, and Charlotte Flair.
The only thing with that one was that show was too fucking long.
WrestleMania has always been too long. After my
7 hours though. I mean, that's 7 hours.
EJ, after I went to the one in Orlando, I realized I can't do it. I couldn't do it anymore. I went to Taker's final match.
What against Roman?
Yeah, I was there at the Citrus Bowl.
Oh, you were there. Okay.
Yeah, me and my stepson were there, and mind you, I had a 10-year-old at WrestleMania for 8. Sorry, it wasn't 7 hours. It was almost 9 hours because we got there at 3:30.
Can't do it, bro. Can't do it. I want to go to Mania. It's on my bucket list, but I can't do it.
Well, because EJ, here's the thing. Now I wonder when we get fans back in the stadium, when you buy tickets, are you able to go to both days for those tickets? Because what happens? You buy one day and the rest of you want to see is not there. You really don't know the card until the week of.
Yeah.
I'm
against the idea of doing 2 WrestleManias personally. I'm against the idea, but.
I mean, and also did you see the rumor? Did you see the takeovers happening on Thursday before Mania?
Oh, it's before Mania now. Oh, okay, right.
Because that whole week is a wrestling fan's dream because we have the final AEW NXT Wednesday shows, the final ones that are going against each other before NXT gets moved. You have TakeOver Thursday, SmackDown Friday, WrestleMania Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. You have Raw on Monday, but you have AEW's new show premiering the hour before Raw, the second show.
That's on Monday now? That's on Monday?
It's on Monday before Raw.
I didn't know that.
It's on the Monday before Raw. And then on Tuesday, you have NXT moving to its new night with AEW on Wednesday.
Too much wrestling, dude. Oh my God. I'm gonna get a heart attack.
But EJ, on Tuesdays, you have NXT, Impact, and NWA all on Wednesday.
I don't do Impact in NWA. I know what's going on, but I don't really follow it as much as I have to.
With AEW, you kind of got to follow Impact because they're now cross-promoting now.
Wait, well, that's true. That's one reason I'm into Impact, because AEW. Wait, you watch Impact too?
I watch a little here and there.
Okay.
But I know it's almost time for the end. But I got one question because we're both wrestling guys.
Yeah.
Who wins the main event on Sunday? Is it Moxley?
It's Omega.
Or it's Omega?
It's Omega. Because Moxley's going to go away and have his baby.
Okay, but here's one. Who is the Hall of Famer that's going to show up on Sunday? That's not going to be in the Battle Royal, the ladder match.
God. It's not Brock Lesnar right now. All this shit about Brock Lesnar being talked about, that's not going to happen.
Batista said he's not a part of it, and CM Punk said today on social media, don't expect him in Florida.
What about Christian?
See, I wonder, but is he? Would he cross? But he's crossed events before. We went to Impact before.
Yeah, but again, it's about at the same time, it's about you ain't signed my paycheck, so let's go.
But here's a question I have with this: AEW seems like they're going to grab a whole bunch of these older wrestlers that, I understand some guys. Like for example, if they went and got Tia Trinidad, otherwise known as Selena Vega, I get that. Mm-hmm. Okay. But going out and signing these older WWE guys, I mean, they went and got they got Paul White the other night. Right. And I think I understand.
That's a good move, by the way. I think him being in the ring is good. It's good.
I mean, they went and got Jericho a long time. It seems like they got Sting. They're getting these old retreads back. I get to get people's attention, but I mean, they messed up Matt Hardy. They didn't do well with Matt Hardy in this one. They kind of left broken Matt Hardy broken. Sean Spears, I thought was going to be huge, is now just got repackaged for the third time since he's been there.
It's bad booking. That's why. It's a horrible booking.
But the thing is, though, what other star are you going to bring? I mean, if it's not Christian, I was really thinking that it might be RVD.
Ooh. That's a good one.
I mean, it could be RVD.
I don't mind bringing back guys as long as it makes sense.
But they say it's a full-time contract though. Whoever's showing up on Sunday, it is a multi-year deal.
Who's young enough right now that can still get like Paul White? Paul White's young enough to still scrap.
But they're saying Hall of Fame caliber talent. That's the part that gets me.
I want to say, well, it's not Aleister Black, but I want to say Aleister Black.
Listen, if Tommy N shows up on Sunday, I might literally just throw a television set. Like it would be like I would probably get in trouble for yelling in my apartment if I saw Aleister Black show up on Revolution on Sunday.
I would find out when his contract's up because he's got to be on the way out now.
It's the same thing with me. I would love to do Ricochet, for example, if that be a case. Ricochet
started extensions a couple weeks ago, though.
I mean, I'm just saying, if I had my choice, I'd love to see Ricochet show up tomorrow, show up on Sunday. Yeah. I would have thought Marty Scurll, but no one's touching him at the current moment.
Right. Yeah, you need to get released from Ring of Honor.
Yeah, I mean, no one's touching him at the current moment. And they already said it's not a woman, so that cancels Tessa Blanchard. That also cancels Ronda Rousey.
Yeah, of course. No, I don't see that happening.
Yeah, so, I mean, if it's a male, I don't know what's left out there. I mean...
Hall of Fame talent.
That's what, if he didn't say Hall of Fame talent, it could be anybody.
Yeah.
And I just hope I don't see Hulk Hogan walk through that door.
Dude, if that happens, I swear to God, I'm going to smack somebody.
No, what's going to happen is I'm going to turn the pay-per-view off and go straight to watch that poorly ran dunk contest on Sunday night. Jeez.
And on that note, DT, plug away everything, man. The whole list of things you're doing.
Like I said, EJ, it's always been a pleasure, and this time being on the video side of things,
great,
man.
Isn't it? It's awesome.
I know, right? Check me out on Twitter at Danny DANNY number 3 times. So on Twitter, that's my Twitter handle. Check me out on Beyond the Buzzer. Like I said, it is on Thursday nights. Myself and the student of the game, Kyle Nash, talking all things sports on Zingo Television, channel 198, as well as Blackjack TV, Facebook Live, and YouTube. Check out the post-game Hornets show that I do almost every single Hornets post-game, the Buzz City post-game show, which is on nightly. And then, like I said, the upcoming NBA show, which will be right after the All-Star break, which I think is Monday. It's going to be talking all things hoops. And then you can find my written work on the 3pointconversion.com. And you never know. I show up on podcasts. I show up on video streams. You never know I show up on a daily basis.
Like this one, for example.
listen, between your show and Late Night Parents with Ted Hicks,
you do a lot of appearances on Ted's show. I've noticed. I follow the show too. So
listen, every time I get the bat signal for either one of y'all two, I go flying like Michael Keaton Batman. We're not talking like, your boy, what's his face? The terrible Batman.
George Clooney.
Yeah, George Clooney. I'm not George Clooney.
That's pretty easy.
Listen, there have been some bad Batmans too, though.
I think the most underrated one is Val Kilmer, though.
I didn't really like Val Kilmer.
So Val Kilmer, to me, honestly, might be the best Bruce Wayne Batman package.
I still think Christian Bale was.
Could be right. I'm a Keaton guy personally, but
I think Keaton was the best overall. But as far as the Bruce Wayne side of it, I still think Christian Bale was too smooth for it.
Kilmer was the best. Kilmer was the best Bruce Wayne because he looks debonair. Well, back then anyway.
I don't know. I mean, but watching Christian Bale in The Dark Knight kind of changed my perspective on that. All right, EJ, last question.
Go ahead.
Are you watching Coming to America this weekend?
That's out now. It dropped already.
I know. I'm literally soon I get off. I've been debating on watching it with the missus, waiting on her, or for tomorrow, or watching it now and not saying anything. I hope she's not.
Don't do that. Women have a way of finding out these things.
Listen, I can go for Bridgerton because she finished Bridgerton without me. So
I gotta start that by the way too. Bridgerton.
Listen, Bridgerton and Behind Her Eye. I think it's Behind Her Eyes on Netflix.
There's a lot of sex.
Which one? In Bridgerton?
Bridgerton's a lot of sex, apparently.
I mean, you don't want the kids around watching it. I'm just telling you that right now.
I know.
But and Behind Her Eyes is a complete. I mean, this is a podcast, so I can say it's a complete mind fuck. I'm going to say it right now.
Yeah.
But it's only 6 episodes though.
Yeah.
But it's really good. Just don't watch Malcolm and Marie. You'll be perfectly fine.
So I am really scared to watch Coming to America because it's one of the original obviously is in my top 5 all time favorite movies.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Mine too.
I think they did it well based on a trailer, but I'm scared. I ain't gonna lie to you. I'm scared.
Kyle was saying the same thing. He said don't go Atlanta Falcons in the Super Bowl on me and get your hopes up when it's 28-3 to be let down to lose in the fourth quarter.
This is this is the one of the things I hate about this era is that trailers get so much attention that when you watch the actual movie, you'll let down half the time. Here's
my thing. I'm gonna go watch this movie, and if I see Ellie Broadus post one more thing about this, my man Ellie Broadus, if he posts one more thing about this tonight, I'm gonna throw something at him. All right, because don't spoil the movie because I ain't seen it yet. But I'm going into this movie, and I think this is the way I'm gonna watch it. I'm not going to compare it to the first one. That's why I will not do.
If I'm gonna watch it, I'm likely watching it on Saturday. Maybe tomorrow night. We'll see. Because my tradition on Friday nights normally is my wife. I get home from work about 7. Put the kids to sleep at 8:30, and then we watch WandaVision, and then Bill Maher at 10 o'clock. That's our tradition.
Listen, I have not watched WandaVision yet.
Okay.
The reason why I haven't watched it, not because I don't want to watch it, is because I want to binge watch the whole thing.
Well, you can start tomorrow because the last episode of the season is.
I'm gonna add the All-Star break to worry about it. I'll probably binge watch WandaVision Monday and Tuesday, and watch the whole thing.
Let me tell you right now, real quick. Stay with it because the complaint was that the first 3 episodes are boring. Stay with it; it'll make sense by episode.
It's the same thing with Bridgerton. The Bridgerton first 2 episodes, because they tell the entire backstory of how we got to this point. It might be slow for the first episode or 2, but it picks up.
If there's sex in it, it'll keep me in.
I mean, listen, it's 18th century British. I mean, they get down in the British parts. I mean,
they have no shame in their game in Britain.
Listen, I'll be honest. Like I said, it's really good. But like I said, but you have to give it an episode or 2 for Bridgerton. It's the same thing as the what show is that? Nurse Ratched.
Ah,
it's kind of. Did you watch Nurse Ratched?
No, I heard of it though.
Ratchet was phenomenal, but it was slow the first 2 episodes.
The title wouldn't be attractive, but I'll check it out.
Listen, because the fact it's about a nurse inside of a mental ward.
Netflix?
Yep.
We'll check it out.
Listen, now you got 3. Yes, you can put that on the list.
Motherfucker. DT's like giving me recommendations here. On the list. Chris Jericho, on the list.
Yeah, if I had Ascot right now, I'd put it on right now and say, you can put this on the list.
Do not watch. You got to work tomorrow. Don't watch anything tonight. Get some sleep and watch your wife tomorrow.
I mean, listen, I'm going to call her now. I'm pretty sure she's probably asleep. And say, hey, you might be watching. Because here's the thing. It's not, I want to watch it, but I don't want to. If I go on Facebook, they're going to tell me the whole damn plot anyway. So I'm trying to keep myself, because I got to do social media this weekend. So I got to stay on it.
Yeah, I'll probably do tomorrow is I'll probably end up watching it tomorrow night if I can with the wife, and just not watch Bill Maher. Watch Maher over the weekend as opposed to watching it immediately.
I mean, like I said,
yeah.
I just can't. I have to beat people watching. It's the same way I did Black Panther. I knew I had to watch Black Panther. I caught it the day, literally at 4:00 the day it came out.
Right.
To make sure that I beat everybody on my timeline.
I mean, I've only waited 33 years for the fucking movie, so come on.
Yeah, like literally. And when I found Amazon had released it at 7:00, I almost canceled Beyond the Buzzer to watch it.
I wouldn't have judged you, and I'm sure Kyle wouldn't either.
Oh, Kyle was like, "You're going to cancel me for because he's not a big fan of the sequel, by the way."
Oh, any sequel or just
this one? Because he feels like sequels nowadays that have taken years to come apart are disappointments.
Yeah, but it's 33. But it's a 33-year gap. It's not like Bad Boys 16 years. This is a 33-year gap.
But I'll be honest with you, Bad Boys 2 was well worth the wait for after Bad Boys 1.
I agree.
And I think 3 was really good. The last Bad Boys.
You never saw 3? I never saw Bad Boys 3.
You haven't seen the last one?
I never saw Bad Boys 3. I never saw it.
Bad Boys for Life actually might have been just as good as, I think it was better than 2.
That's saying a lot because 2 was pretty good.
Yeah. I don't know if it's as good as 1.
No, 1's the best one.
1 was but I think 3 is very underrated. I think it was a very well written story, and it doesn't have the Michael Bay effects to it.
Yeah, I gotta add it to the list too.
This is how Michael Bay blowing up everything.
Exactly. All right, buddy. We'll talk soon. Thanks for the recommendations. Enjoy Revolution, enjoy All-Star Game, and we'll definitely do this in a couple weeks.
I'll be texting you on Sunday.
All right.
Have a good day, bro.
All right, man. Take it easy, man.
Later.
Later.